Hello and welcome to TechDrs, the podcast where we examine the latest technology news from a deeply engineering centric perspective. I'm Mike Ali, who, along with fellow tech doctorate Greg Martin and our MBA buddy Rob Haywood, thank you for joining our discussion. We will work hard to separate facts from opinion and hype from reality. We hope that you'll find our podcast informative and fun, so let's get started. This week, we're talking about a Wall Street Journal article that discusses why superintelligent AI isn't happening anytime soon, and a New York Times article on the dangers of using ChatGPT as a therapist, which leads us into a discussion on the need for protections around innovations without running into undue regulatory burdens.
Okay, who came up with the logo?
ChatGPT.
Really?
I gave it a prompt that said I need a logo for Tech Doctors podcast. It asked me a couple of questions about, do you want techie? Do you want fun? Something like that. And I gave it some answers, and that's what it kicked back.
Dude, I tell you what, I looked at that, I was just like, yeah, that's fine.
Oh,
It
and it
looks
had a
good.
rationale. It had a rationale. It said this font is probably better for this, and use two colors so the doctors and stuff. It had like I meant to cut and paste it. I might still have it. I meant to send it to you guys. So I was like, hey, all right, we ready to get started?
Let's
Let's
get
go.
started.
All right,
Officially turn on the recorder.
it's on. It's been on. Do you want to start with the Wall Street Journal article? Where do you want to start?
Let's do that. Which one
All
are you
right.
talking about?
Why superintelligent AI isn't taking over anytime soon. I thought it was a really good article. It was one of those articles I'd say, I wish I had written this, which I rarely say, especially with the mainstream press, non-technical press. I almost never say it, but this was one I thought they covered the situation pretty well. What I thought was interesting about the article is, it starts off with this idea that Zuckerberg now has this dream of super intelligence, right? Which is a point that I often make, which is that, they act like, oh, the AGI, the general intelligence problem is solved or it's going to be solved in the next couple of years. We're looking forward to this other future, right? This super intelligence and the path toward that. I find it interesting that Mark Zuckerberg, right, fresh off of his metaverse experience is now, once again, pointing billions of dollars of his company's money at yet another moonshot, and he's shown that he's so good at picking.
There is one positive thing in here. From a business perspective, whether or not current systems can reason, they're going to generate value for users. And the quote is, models keep getting better and new approaches to AI are being developed all the time. So I wouldn't be surprised if these limitations are overcome in practice in the near future, says Ethan Mollick, a professor at the Wharton School of the University of Pennsylvania, who has studied the practical uses of AI. So that's kind of everything said in here, that lines up more with my way of thinking about this. Um, that's my 2 cents.
Yeah, I looked up that guy. Apparently he was the Trump administration's AI guy recently. So I will dig in more into his background, but he sounds just like another AI shill to me because he's not what he says is not consistent with all the other papers and things that they've been quoting in this article. Also, I looked him up. I'll go back and check again, but I don't remember seeing any papers by him that say, "Oh yeah, I've stud my opinion is based on studies that me and my research team have done that refute right these other research studies, right? He's just a good, as far as I can tell, he's a
I think
professor
he
from
I
U.
think he's worked a lot with RFK Jr. and some of the papers that he's published.
Yeah, yeah. So
As
Yeah,
soon
I
as he,
don't think when you say he worked with the Trump administration, I don't think you can dismiss him just because of that. What I'm looking at here, um, he's worked, uh, let's see, a lifelong eager and early adopter. He's immersed himself in the technology. He's on social media sharing discoveries that he's made while experimenting with ChatGPT, including findings from his MBA students at Wharton who use it in his classes. His embrace of large language models has been so early and so deep that he has become the go-to expert for policymakers and corporate leaders alike. So he has talked to groups of workers and executives at Google.
This is his bio you're reading?
Oh, this is the beginning of the Wall Street Journal article that talks
Oh, okay.
about him.
Yeah. Okay.
He's talked to a group of workers and executives at Google, Meta Platforms, OpenAI, and Anthropic.
Mm-hmm.
I'm really getting irritated with this tendency to say this person has touched such and such an area and therefore they can't be trusted. I don't think the fact that the White House is at the end of that list of private equity firms, JP Morgan, Meta Platforms, OpenAI, Anthropic, and Google, you don't get to dismiss him because White House is at the end of that list.
That's the start of me dismissing him. That wasn't the end.
If he's the preeminent expert, of course the White House is going to call him.
Expert. He's a popular a fanboy. So yeah, do I agree that he's got he's jumped in and made a name for himself and said a bunch of positive things about it? Sure. But there's always someone like that in these kinds of ways of technology, right? I told you this is peak hype.
But
So,
the guy's a big time user, and that gives
right.
him, and he's a professor at a business school.
Right. Well, okay, but Greg, what do you have to say about all these professors who are doing research on exactly the capabilities of these LM models? He doesn't talk to that at all. I didn't see him say, "Oh yes, now I understand the paper from Apple, and here's why I think that's different." He's just saying these are great tools, these are great things, and me and my MBA students are using them all the time. It's great, it's great, it's great. Okay, wonderful. There's lots of people saying that. Now,
Okay.
if you want, we can go deeper, but I'm just saying, I thought so too. I was like, oh, well, this guy. Then I said, I think this is that same thing that the press does whenever they get a technical topic they don't understand, right? They go, okay, well, I got
Okay, both sides. Yeah,
yeah, I
yeah.
got this both sides thing, but then the credentials don't match up, right?
Yep, I got you. I
Right? I
got
mean,
you.
that's what they did with global warming, right? They go talk to a bunch of climate scientists who go, yes, global warming is a thing. Then they go find Professor Barry so and so, who was a geologist from some university, who said, yeah, that's all debunked. And you go, wait a minute, climate scientists, geologists, they're not equivalent, but so yeah, you
Yep.
understand my point. But so I said, yeah, I get it. The guy's a fanboy, and he's all for it, but I still well, anyway, I thought the article did a good job of talking about the other side of this, right? Around Apple researchers and the limitations and the problems and stuff. I just think it's
So
just
I sent it because I knew it was going to be supportive of your point of view for the most part.
yeah, I got it. No, I appreciated that. Although I did note they said that coding and mathematics, the models are getting better. I said they has a quote there, right? It says in areas other than coding and mathematics, the latest models aren't getting better at the rate they once did, but coding and math does seem to be getting better, right? So again, there's
Oh, look what you just did. First of all, they're all getting better. It's just saying that coding
At the same rate.
mathematics is getting better faster.
Yes.
And you translated that into, hey, coding and mathematics are getting better.
But none of the other
The others
stuff.
aren't, as if we've already reached the plateau. No, we've just slowed down the velocity, which is fine. Probably good. That gives us more time to work through safety.
So
These
what would
capabilities-
you attribute that disproportionate increase in
speed? It's
In
because
speed.
the coders who are coding the tools that are coders. The coders who are coding the tools that are marketing tools are coders. And so unless you're going to vibe code your marketing AI tools, it's going to take longer for coders to understand what's really going on in the marketing space, but eventually they'll get there.
as they replace all the entry-level marketing people first?
This has become that question. You guys can no longer just dismiss the idea. We're talking about a 5-year horizon. There's serious questions about entry-level positions in quite a few fields. Serious questions.
Dude, I align with those projections.
Yep.
I align with those projections, and people are going to have a more patient posture because of the ROI and the costs associated with it. The risk aren't going to outweigh the reward, and whatever they think that they're missing, the people who are actually interacting with these tools that are mid to higher level will be able to discern what's missing, and the validity of those types of marketing contributions like logos.
Oh,
Yeah.
you're saying that they're gonna, I thought you were headed towards the article we discussed last week where we said one of these companies went all in on AI and then ended up hiring back, not hiring back, but they hired higher level customer service sort of experts to handle, to create an escalation path. Um, which for Mike meant that proves that, you can't go as far as you want to. Um,
But you
but you're
can't go
saying
as fast as you would like to.
that too.
But it
But
hasn't been proven that you can't go as far as you would like because it's in the process. It's a continuum, right?
I don't understand people who say the word "it'll never happen." I don't understand how that could be in the world that we've seen. Uh,
Yeah, I think where we get hung up is, what it means to say it's going to happen, because it's hard for me to believe that an AI tool that literally cannot causally reason is going to get that far as replacing even entry level people. And we have proven that it's not causally reasoning, right? It's really interesting too. The thing that scared me was Apple laid out an experimental approach. They executed it, right? They had a hypothesis, they had experimental procedure, they had discussion, results, conclusion. And at the end of it, people dismiss it by saying, well, Apple's behind in the whole AI race, so therefore
bitter.
their research is suspect. You go,
Yeah,
what? He's like, who?
yeah,
This is the opposite of what you should. And then and those same people go, oh yeah, you can believe Sam Altman,
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah,
but
yeah.
the Apple research, oh no, you got to let that go.
The
Um,
fact that they're kind of not in the front of all this gives them a bit more credibility to try to be the ones to consider the alternative point of view.
right,
Uh,
but
but
that's what the research.
we didn't include the Apple article. We included a New York Times article about the Google DeepMind CEO who has, what do they call it? AGI pilled.
AGI pilled, yeah.
So I think that's a better segue off of Rob's last point than going back to the
Yeah,
Apple article.
I'm just saying that I think the issue is that you're right. There's the two schools of thought at this point, right? There's the it's getting better, it'll get better, it'll be better, and then it'll do it school. And then there's the school of saying fundamentally the models can't do what they're supposed to do, and no evolutionary path is going to get there. Now if we can throw in some magical breakthroughs of some kind that happen at some point in the future, all right, sure. I mean, fine. Again, you can say anything's possible, but those are the schools of thought. And I'd argue that the school of thought, this evolutionary thing, isn't based on anything, right? First of all, it's based on this flawed interpretation of Moore's law, which doesn't apply. So that's one problem. But I will say one thing. This article got me thinking, and it did make me do a little bit of a calculation, because I started thinking about these crazy valuations for these companies, and I said, okay, well, let's say that, and I also think it was something Greg sent a note, right? It's like, okay, if people are ready to sort of let go of the notion that these tools are going to replace experienced workers, but instead agree that they will be used like everyday tools, right, by people, then I was like, okay, well, is there space for this thing to be like Office 365? Let's say that ChatGPT becomes like Office 365, and they get to charge, I think right now people pay like what, $200, $300 a year per user, right? Corporations for Office. I said, well, what if
Sounds
they
right.
did that, right? And so I looked it up, and it turns out that Microsoft makes, call it 70 billion a year off of Office 365. And they make something like, call it 40% profit overall as a business. So you start doing the math on that valuation, and you can get to $250 billion, right? If you said OpenAI will become the Microsoft Office, right, of these LLM tools that will be used just like we open up Word, we'll open up ChatGPT or use ChatGPT, and we'll pay the same rates. There's room in the ecosystem for both these things. And I can say, okay, well, in that case, OpenAI is worth, call it 300 billion, which is their current valuation. I think what I also found interesting is though is that that's not, of course, what they're selling, right? That's probably too low to justify, because that money that Microsoft is making now is after decades, right, of owning that space. They have like 50% of that space. There is no one right now who would say, "Oh yeah, if that is the space that's going to be there, is OpenAI going to get their 50% of that space, right?" who knows, right? Is there money?
But when you think about it, if they clip this on like a Microsoft 360 and you
Mhm.
kind of use the discount and then a discounting process where you slowly raise the price and price increases where you enhance your margin, the land and expand.
Mhm.
Um, that's okay having that type of business model where it's it's everywhere that 360 is, and it's like one of their foils in the spreadsheets, the Word documents, and this overlays almost all of it.
Right. I'm saying so, and I
I'm sure
said
that's Microsoft's vision. I'm sure of
right.
it.
And you could say, well, and assume and say that that's the same revenue model. But I think the problem that the investors would have is go, well, there's no guarantee that's going to happen. I got to put in these billions now on the hope that's going to happen. I think that's where the investment model that's where, like I say, the hype comes in because I don't think their valuation justify. If that's the end state, their current valuation probably doesn't justify that.
So have you done any sort of, there's not much you can learn right now, but have you guys been aware of the device that Altman's been working on with the former Apple executive?
The
So he promises
device,
a device, a hardware device.
To do what?
He didn't say, but I mean, it's gonna be the, the I think they tried to do this before and failed, and now they're trying again, and I think it's gonna be the way that people consume ChatGPT. So you're gonna be carrying another device,
It's
your
an
phone.
appliance. Okay, it's some sort of device, an appliance, something.
So I don't know. I'm sure there's rumors out there you can go find on Reddit or whatever. I haven't gone that far,
Yeah.
but
I
um,
would,
the
I would,
hardware play changes the game, I think, a little bit for ChatGPT, and I think that's what they're trying to do. Um,
I think they're grasping at any story that'll justify their valuation, right? I mean, there's lots of history of people are trying to displace this phone, right? And say there's room for another device. They've all failed utterly, right? I mean, maybe the one exception would be like the Apple Watch, right? But remember, the little pins that people have been trying on and all this other stuff. And almost everybody that tries these things goes, but it's just giving me what my phone does. Well,
I
why do I
think
want this
the
other
pen
device?
was the first attempt of the device that Altman was working on. So I imagine it's
That was
something
a
you.
separate company, but what I'm saying
No,
is
no,
that
no. I'm talking about ChatGPT. I think what they tried first was actually a pen.
yeah,
really.
Their first hardware device. I should probably pull this stuff up
you
and
should.
look
But I
it
know
up.
that there's another device, right? This thing projected onto your hand and all that stuff, and it just gets tossed. Because one thing, if you're going to give me access to Chat GPT through this other device, I'm going to say, well, why can't I just use Chat GPT on my phone? That's the first thing anyone's going to say. So now I'm carrying two devices around. Why?
Yeah, it's so hard to change behavior. It's got to be
Yeah.
pretty, pretty a simple transition.
Hmm. And it better be value add. It better do something.
The value add has to be so much so that people are willing to be retrained and I mean, reconditioned and trained
Hmm.
to benefit from it. And I mean, right now we deal in incrementalities.
So, actually, I'll go to the dark side with this stuff, right? Because I did send this other article about they asked AI chatbot questions and the answers sent them spiraling. And so these are people who are falling into the trap of using ChatGPT as a friend or a therapist or an advisor. And there's one guy committed suicide off of it. I mean, it's really
Really?
yes. The article.
So they found the history of the chat and the prompts and how did it lead him to suicide? Did they give
So it
that
says
level of
Mr.
detail?
Torres had no history of mental illness. He spent the next weeks in a dangerous delusional spiral. He believed that he was trapped in a false universe, which he could only escape by unplugging his mind from reality. He asked the chatbot how to do that and told it the drugs he was taking. The chatbot told him to give up sleeping pills and anti anxiety and increase his intake of ketamine. He did as he was instructed, cut ties with his friends and family, as the bot told him to have minimal interaction with people.
Whoa.
Yeah. So, and now they've done some studies that show that it's really interesting. They said that as much as they do try to put some guardrails around these tools, right? The problem is that again, they're training for the bulk of the people. And the problem is that you got this little subset of people who are putting it into sort of conversational sequences that it's not really trained for. And so it's going places that nobody knew it would go,
It's
right?
hallucinating.
Good point. Right. It's coming up with it's going along and because you're sort of asking it stuff different than it's been asked in ways it's not used to being asked, it doesn't know to apply the guardrails. So then it's like, oh yeah, and they said it makes a terrible therapist. They said they actually did a study and they said, yeah, I actually here's the quote. Um, in a different study, they tested the therapeutic abilities, and they found that the technology behaved inappropriately as a therapist in crisis situations, including by failing to push back against delusional thinking. And yet, uh, as a side note, the other article that we weren't going to talk about or not going to talk about, but there are these two tech journalists from the New York Times who have a podcast, and they're talking about, I guess it's time to pivot because, again, I know someone that just started using ChatGPT as her therapist after her regular human therapist doubled her rates. And let's just say, if you're a therapist, this is maybe not the best time to double your rates.
That's hilarious.
It is, but yet, if only they had read this other New York Times article, maybe they
Yeah.
would have caveated, some of their commentaries. Say, oh, by the way, it's a really bad idea to use ChatGPT as your therapist based on everything that we know right now.
I'm
So that is a very disturbing example, and I think it's just bad. There's no other way to think about it. But what adherents will probably say in response to it is, and this sounds harsh, um, people commit suicide under the guidance of human therapists all the time.
So I think this actually goes to an analogy I was quite proud of that I said, look, it's one thing, to invent a hammer and tell people this thing is meant for banging in nails. And then somebody accidentally uses it. They decide they're going to use it as a tire iron or something and they hurt themselves. As opposed to, hey, I've invented this tool. It's called a hammer. It is the best tool in the universe. You can use it for anything. It's a little defective. You got to be careful, but I'm improving it. It's getting better all the time. And now you give it to someone, and now they hurt themselves. And to me, that's what ChatGPT is, right? It's not this very carefully couched. It's a tool. It's meant to do some specific things. You got to be careful with it. Da 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 da. Instead, it's AGI. It's so close to AGI. It'll be AGI in 3 years. Every day we get better. Actually, what's his name has come out now. He's quoted recently. One of those guys who's quoted recently say hallucinations basically taken care of now. Just says it. No backup. Just says it. Yeah, hallucinations. Yeah, not a problem anymore.
You're so mad about the hype. But I
Well,
think
people are dying. People are dying, and we're saying, well,
I'm saying people are dying in the real world too.
I know, but it's one thing to die because you're suicidal and you're working with a trained therapist, which is the best that humankind has to offer you. That's the best. Now, are you going to get through therapists? Are they human? Do they make mistakes? Do they let? Of course, but that's the best we've got. On the other hand, we've got this Chat GPT thing that none of us understand, that we know hallucinates, that we know has limitations, and we're saying, hey, you die with a therapist, you die with Chat GPT, you know.
No, I see what you're saying. You're saying hype leads to death, and I'm not willing
Yeah,
to trust
and I'm
that
and
for
I'm
that.
but I'm also saying that you can't compare this hype tool that's obviously operating outside its boundaries with the fact that human therapists don't have 100% success rate, right? I mean, they just don't, right?
No, I agree with that. It's not the same situation.
Yeah,
I'm saying if you're saying that death is a reason for us to stop doing research on AI,
no, yes,
okay, not
no,
saying that.
I'm talking about
You're
hype.
saying you're mad about hype.
I'm mad about hype. I'm mad about hype.
You've
Yeah.
made that point before, Mike, but what are you going to do about it? Right? You
so
can't blame the hammer maker.
Tech doctors is what I'm doing about it.
That's what you're doing about it. Now, you can't
Yeah.
blame the hammer manufacturer because I decided to try to use the claws to unscrew a screw and end up smacking myself in the face and busting a hole in my Scott.
That's incredibly detailed. You want to give us some context around that?
Again, I'll say
God, straight to that example.
There it is.
I mean, that's wow.
context is everything. Like I said, now if I had sold the hammer as, oh, you can use it for anything, right? Use it for anything. It's a little defective. Then
But
I say
we live in a
sorry.
society that really allows people to hype their products.
Yes.
We live in a society that says buyer beware
Yep.
because you can I hear overhyped financial products in commercials on regional and national television all day long. I hear overhyped, oh my God, the pharmaceutical commercials. They overhype the lifestyle that they can create for you. And then they go, and by the way, this might kill you. You might get depressed. You might kill yourself. You might. Da, 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 da,
I
da.
like those
It
disclaimers at
sounds
the
like
end.
it's not worth the risk to
If,
even take it.
if it wasn't for the regulations, they wouldn't have to put all those disclaimers.
Yeah.
Even they do read them fast at the end in small print, but they are there.
But you
Wait a minute,
tell
death,
me if you
suicide,
honest,
or what? I'll just live with the psoriasis.
Thank you.
you tell me how many people are actually conscious of those warnings when they're read in a commercial and use them to make decisions. The more likely outcome is the hype that was the foundation of the actual commercial had far more impact than the 150x speed standard disclaimers that we hear at the end of every pharmaceutical commercial. You try to regulate, but you
Okay.
can't help the situation. You
But
can make
yeah,
yourself
but
feel
here's the
good.
difference.
Let me finish this, Mike.
Yeah, go
You
ahead.
can make yourself feel good about trying to impact the outcome,
Yeah.
but you have not impacted the outcome.
Yeah, we have though. You're wrong. So here's where it's
People are
different.
still
No, no,
taking these stupid
no, no.
drugs
Here's where it's
and
different.
going
No,
nuts
no, 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 no. You're wrong
and
because here's the thing.
people aren't taking 18
Before
drugs.
you can see that overhyped Ozempic commercial on TV, there's clinical trials, there's studies, there's everything else. The FDA has to approve it. When you see that commercial, you get all excited about Ozempic, you have to go see a doctor who's trained in how to give you Ozempic and
That's
won't give
very,
it to you if
very
it's not
good
good for you.
response, Mike.
That's not true for ChatGPT. You read an article about ChatGPT in the New York Times, you can be using it as your therapist 30 seconds later with no caveats, no protections, nothing. And the reason
So
why it's top of mind,
if you think it's practical to build a tech protection agency that has a test bed for every piece of software that will ever go out to the public, you're delusional, or you really believe ChatGPT can do wonders because that's the only way it's going to be possible.
all right. So that's a great Hobbes's choice you gave me. It's all everything or nothing. But all right, I'm not gonna let that
No,
one
no,
go.
no, no, no. I didn't give you a Hobbes choice. I gave you the choice.
No,
You
because
just said
there's
you
plenty
just
in
said
between.
that all these drugs are protected by the FDA. They've got all these clinical trials that are over. And I'm saying if you're bringing that up because you think it's possible to do those same types of things in the software world, then I'm saying good luck.
So here's the thing, though, going all the way back to the very beginning of Tech Doctors, your hero Sam Altman is the one who went to Congress and begged for regulations. Remember, that's how he made his name for himself. We're
Yes.
getting this open AI thing.
And why don't we
We should
have a Mike?
regulate us.
Why
You
don't
know
we have a
why?
Mike?
You know why? Because he went in there and said, you need to regulate this technology. What he should have said was, you need to regulate people like me who are going to be overhyping this thing and making people use it before it's
Now
ready.
you're back to
He
hype.
didn't do that.
We were having a really practical
Oh,
conversation
okay.
about actual tools and
He,
techniques,
he, he he
and
just
you
won't let
got
it
back to the
go.
hype. You're stuck on that.
Okay. I'll go back to
So
the
if you want to go back to the hype, that's the
no,
only
let's go back
analogy
to
I was making. I
let's
was
go to
making the
regulatory
analogy
framework.
forget about the clinical trials that lead to it. I made an analogy of an actual commercial.
Yep.
It starts with hype
Yep.
and it leads to all the
No,
drivel
but that's
that
wrong. You
results
did
from the
not.
regulation.
But see,
And
you
I compared that.
no. Greg, you said it backwards. You see an Ozempic commercial. I know the song. The hype came after. All this other work came first. And
And
then
I'm saying
yeah,
because you can't replicate all that other work in the
why can't
software
I?
world,
Why can't I?
when I asked you, you said you refused to say you can.
I wanted to move on to my Sam Altman point, so I'm gonna move back to this other point. Yes, we can. We should at least let's get caught trying. We should
Okay.
absolutely put in some. And I'm gonna. The one lesson I learned is don't call it regulations, call it protections. Republicans are really good at framing namings. Oh, regulations are bad. Fine. I'm not going to argue with this. Is the stupidest thing in the world. Don't call them regulations. Call them protections because that's what we're doing. We're protecting people, and that's what we're. That's the job we're in.
Which gets me back to Sam asked for it. Europe's trying it. All the world people are trying to do it. Why is it so hard?
Sam didn't really ask for it. Problem was one of the issues. Like I said, he asked for something different. Part of it is that we have to figure out how to get the technical people to help the politicians craft the right kind of regulatory frameworks and put in the right kinds of organizations, right? Like what is the equivalent of the FDA, right? Is it the FSA, the Federal Software Administration now, right? That will be doing some of this stuff.
If you think, okay, I'll put it to you this way. There is no way in this universe that you will get any software related regulations passed in this Congress with this administration in place.
I didn't say
So
that.
your so
Okay,
your dream is delayed by at least 3 years.
all right. So well, then now you're asking me for a solution and then forcing me to live within a time constraint that I happen to be in. If we're having this conversation during the Obama administration or maybe the Biden administration, we go, okay, let's have a conversation,
We
right?
can get as
I mean,
hypothetical as you
look,
like.
if Elizabeth Warren can put in the Consumer Protection Agency, right? And they're trying to kill it right now, and she's still managing to save it, right? The little pieces of it that are left. But it was still there for one brief shining moment, and it was working and protecting people. And so, fine, if that's the best we can do is protect people every time there's a Democratic administration, I'll take that.
Mhm.
Because I do believe that there
To
needs to be somebody protecting people from themselves. I don't. I wish it wasn't the case.
Yeah, and what you'll end up with, just like in the drug case, is a whole lot of harmful stuff being approved with a disclaimer. And now we get to my real point.
Yep.
With all the FDA that's out there, we
So,
still have really dangerous drugs available from a doctor. And we'll start with the business Rob was in, painkillers.
Mm-hmm.
The epidemic was initiated by doctors on
so
a on a
not
on a pay to
not
pay plan that
not just painkillers. I
that
was
certain
in
people were putting on steroids in terms of the compensation plan that
You talking
led
about
to
you
pharmacy.
talking
the
about oxy?
distribution
Oxy?
Pharmacy.
of more
Yes.
and more drugs.
I
Yep.
wasn't into painkillers. Pharmacy.
Yep.
Okay.
No, but before you guys poo-poo all the different,
No, I'm just all I'm saying is
legalese,
that the
all
FDA
the
is here.
legalese associated with the drugs and the drug manufacturers. I think part of the regulation is if anything happens once, no matter how large the sample or test size is, they have to report it in that legalese. So
That's why it's so long. That's why the study.
yeah, so it's like
Well,
they could have had over 1 million, 2 million trials. If one person died and they can't uh, separate it out from
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
the
Yeah.
drug, even
Yeah.
if it's not conclusive that it was due to the drug,
They have to
based on
report.
what I recall, it still has to be in the legalese.
Yeah. All I'm
So
saying is that you're going to run into the same kinds of issues when you try to
I would
regulate
say that
AI, and you're going to have products to get through that can still harm people and make them commit
so
suicide.
and I would
so I gotta ask you guys help with one thing. I can't remember if it was something that we read, something you guys distributed for reading, or something that I saw or read on my own, but they were talking about a couple of different instances where the AI became self-protective.
Oh, there are instances where it has
It-
undid its guardrails,
yes,
programmed
yes,
itself. Yeah,
to protect
that's
itself from being
yeah,
erased and
yeah, yeah,
everything.
yeah. It sort of developed a life preserving
Yeah.
instinct,
Yeah,
and
and I was just
it
like,
couldn't do
wait a
bad
minute.
things.
This
Yeah,
sounds like,
that's
Arnold
science fiction.
Schwarzenegger movie.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's
So
that was
that's real.
Skynet,
That kind of stuff
Skynet.
has happened, or is
So
this Kanye West writing
well,
this?
so wait.
no. No, I didn't. I've not read
That
any Kanye West AI
No, no,
analysis.
no. I'm
that
joking.
stuff has happened. People are anthropomorphizing it by saying, and the software protected itself by da da
Yeah,
da.
yeah, yeah. You're right. You're right.
That's the issue, right? So yes, did the software change the code? Yes. Do they know why or how the neural net activated itself to do that? No. And is it thinking? Is it self? Now it's suddenly become self-aware, right? Has it become self-aware like Skynet? No, no.
That's and one day,
Skynet.
one day, Mike, we're going to get to this. You and I, at least. Uh, uh, this gets at the controllability and observability issue.
Mm-hmm.
And observability would say if, and I'm really, really bastardizing the concept of observability, but I would like for it to say, as a control theorist, um, if I can see an output from ChatGPT, I can observe the state of ChatGPT that led to that output.
Mm-hmm.
And the hard part is making sense of that. And so um, I think I want to find, I think there are papers out there. I wish we had brought this up while Paul was on, but I'm sure there are papers out there that think about the ability to discern, quote unquote, the reasoning that led to an output
Yeah.
from the output and the ongoing watching of the system perform over time, which is how observers work on dynamic systems. And I
Every
bet
time you bring this point up, we all, yeah, I'm in 100% agreement. I think, yeah.
but I'm saying I bet we would find that it's not an observable system um, in a meaningful way.
Yeah.
You can observe all the neuron states, but what that means in terms of some kind of you know reasoning sort of clause or some sort of if then else statement or something like that, then I think you're not going to be
So
able to.
this is another case where it would help to have some sort of protectioning framework because the VCs, private equity folks, right, they're trying to monetize this technology, right? And so whatever path gets them there is where they're going to fund.
You know, they
If,
go on the same path all the time. They they,
well,
they
well, hang on.
land and expand, but they don't raise prices
Well,
until
let me
they've got
make my
market share.
point though, which is that if they thought observability was required on that path, then it would get some money. Right now, they really don't.
They don't care what's inside,
Right.
and I think
So
that's
this
your
is
point. They
where,
should
let
care.
me just finish my point. This
I
is,
don't want to.
take me 2 more seconds. This is where government regulation environments can come and say, hey, that's important. We will fund it.
Was
Uh,
that the big buildup that we were
yeah.
waiting
Well,
for?
I would have got there quicker. I was interrupted so often.
Greg, you were justified.
Oh God.
Thank you.
Can't win.
All
Hey,
right,
no
did we get to
piling
this?
on.
Did we get to the second New York Times article?
I think we're out of time, so I think we did. I think we could hold there. I think we
We
got
did
it.
what we could. Okay.
Yeah, I think we did good. The other article is just about more about Zuckerberg anyway, so I think this was good. I think the
I think,
jump off around what to do about it is an interesting one, but I think it gets into a philosophical and well, I say it's a political conversation around the role
well,
of
it
government.
did get political and it shouldn't have, and that's probably my bad. But the issue is regulation sounds you're overhyping regulation is what I'm getting at. You're saying we got to regulate this and then everything will be great. And I'm saying we've regulated a lot of things
Mhm.
and it hasn't helped as much as we would like it to help.
I would agree with what you just said. Of course, regulations. I wish there was a better answer, but sometimes that's the answer we've got. And yeah, regulations. First of all, I'll be the first to say a lot of times they're cumbersome, right? And
Yeah,
they end up getting codified into rules that really don't make logical sense because you kind of
especially over time.
right over time, right? You lose the
And you can't
reason,
sit there and
right?
tweak them every
Yeah,
day. You don't have a
right.
regulation.
Right. The other thing I'd argue is that they're developed by lawyers who don't have technical training a lot of times, right? Or they try to, right? They try to pull together a cadre of SMEs to help them craft the bills and things, and not everything can be driven by a bill. But on the other hand, we've seen what happens when you allow pure capitalism to run rampant, right? Pure capitalism doesn't give a damn about anything or anyone. It just cares about shareholders and the return on investment. That's it.
I don't think a pure capitalist would disagree with that statement.
No. Well, some of them claim that, well, you have this stakeholder view. I'm like, that's horse hockey, right? It's like, oh, we of course when we're building our company, we have the bigger view of all the stakeholders on the planet who are affected by the chemicals we're dumping into the stream. I'm like, yeah, but you're beholden to your shareholders who don't want to pay for that treatment plant that you need.
Mhm.
So same thing here with this AI stuff. It's the wild wild west, and like I said, people are. And I think the other thing I worry about the layman is they assume there's a level because there is a regulatory environment. They assume that there's some sort of protections running somewhere, right? I think a lot of people, right, when they try this stuff out, right? Or I'll give you an example, right? When you buy one of those people buying those hoverboards, right? And when the hoverboards start blowing up, they go, wait, you mean you weren't checking these things, right? No one, there was no UL rating or anything, right? People just think, you go, well, no, those came out of, some fly by night shop in China or whatever, right? Sorry, they skipped past our regulatory frameworks.
Yeah, they weren't a motorcycle, they weren't a
Thank you.
bicycle, they weren't a
Right,
car.
right,
So
right, right. And so, this is the thing. So that's the scary thing for me is that people a lot of times assume that there's something operating to protect them when there really isn't.
well, that gets back to my real point, which is our culture. We have supported innovation as a choice. And the biggest difference between us and Europe in terms of the digital era, we say you have to specifically opt out, which means the whole tech world has opted the whole American population into their beta test software, which is it's all beta now.
Mm-hmm.
We never get to whatever comes after beta.
Do,
Everything
do
is
you
always beta now.
do you think
So
our society is faster to embrace technology than the other geographies like Europe or Asia?
Asia I would not compare
I
ourselves to. I think they would be faster. But
I
Europe,
would I would say
absolutely.
even Europe is faster.
No, I don't think so. Europe has the opposite regulatory environment. You have to explicitly opt in. And so the large kind of populations of see we release software for free to everybody. You can have it, and then we figure out how to monetize it later. And so you get to innovate in a really large
Sample.
customer base,
Yeah.
and you get results faster. Whereas in Europe, you have to get people to agree to use your software, and it's
I guess I'm just looking at some of the consumer specific, not necessarily the business, but some of the consumer specific
are you saying
technology
what
that
you're
that
saying is
has
that
has advanced faster in Europe than it has in the US or
Europeans are
had
smarter.
greater adoption.
Europeans are smarter users than us. That I would agree with, and they move faster through the cycles. Yes, but in
Okay.
terms of the industry advancing, I think America is cleaning their clock. And I think part of it is a looser regulatory environment, is my point. We've
Okay.
made that choice. We don't get Google if we say, don't release that search algorithm until we make sure it doesn't give back any porn, it doesn't give back any offensive material, it doesn't give back any politically stuff that we really are concerned about. It's not advocating for murder. It's not. You wouldn't have gotten through Alta Vista, Excite. I'm kicking knowledge now, man, because I can't remember. I can't believe I
What was
remember
the
it.
black Lavador? Which one was that one?
I don't remember that one, but
Locos or something like that?
we got to Google really quickly, right? And it was phenomenal. It was its own ChatGPT moment. The way that Google reorganized search, as an algorithm and as a presentation of results. It was revolutionary. And so you don't get there, I don't think, if Europe were left to their own devices without America to push those limits. So we've made a choice as a society to allow ourselves to be those guinea pigs that you worry about people allowing themselves to be. That's our culture. We are
But
guinea pigs because we benefit from all the wealth that comes from being first to the party with these unicorns.
yeah,
And we're about to give all that away, by the way, because that freedom is useless if you got a bunch of idiots doing the innovation, and that's all we'll be left with if we, cut off all the foreign students, which is where all of our 80% of our innovation comes from foreign students coming over here and
yeah,
staying.
fine.
And that was an arbitrary number, 80, but I bet it's a hell of a lot more than
Dude,
50.
yeah, they're paying full freight. They're the
Yeah.
ones getting the PhDs. Yeah, absolutely.
No,
And
I'm talking about Silicon Valley, those
yeah,
guys.
I'm saying, yeah. And they're
Oh, the
staying,
dropouts.
yeah,
They're
and not
still foreign students.
right. And they're not, and the best part, the funny part is a lot of them are going back, but enough are staying to make a
Enough
difference.
of staying, thank goodness.
Right. Thank goodness. Right. I'm with you. Yeah. Right. The
But
scariest.
even those that go back, they got ties to our accelerators. They got ties to our private equity firms.
Yeah.
They got this is their alma mater. They're going to give a little money. They're going to make a building. We still win
Yeah. No, you're absolutely right.
In spite of ourselves.
in
Well,
spite of ourselves. Yeah. So my point is, don't throw out the American culture with the AI overhyped bathwater.
I think like I said, I would say you have to get caught trying. I still remember back in the day when you could just walk down to your local hobby store and buy a chemistry set that would literally kill you. And you can't do that anymore, right? We said that's not safe. And I think we're better off as a society because of that. When I think about the things I was playing with as a child, I have just,
Freaking easy bake ovens that can burn your fingers off. You remember the soldering irons, the wood burning sets?
yeah, yeah, right.
Yeah.
So,
But we're much more careful and probably dexterous people as a result of those risks. Now we've lost a few,
Yeah,
unfortunately.
yeah,
lost a digit or two
yeah,
along the way.
yeah. So you're right. So I think there's a benefit there. Like I said, I don't think it hurts to get caught trying on some of this stuff and using some of our knowledge to realize that you can't just let innovation run amok. And clearly, we don't let everybody innovate in anything they want, right? Like we control nuclear technology, right? We don't just let anybody who says, "Hey, I think I'd like to learn how to build a fusion. I got a better idea on how to build a fusion bomb." Send me, a few pounds of material and let me innovate, right?
Yeah.
There are certain bounds that we put on things, right? So, and the hard part is recognizing it, right? Because you think, oh, well, software, what? I mean, like, what was the danger in Google search engine, right? Oh my God, they're searching. Well, okay, what's the badness that's going to come out of that, right? So you think, oh, well, now I got this Chat GPT thing, right? Who would know in a million years that people are going to talk to it like a freaking therapist? I mean, that's the last thing I would use Chat GPT for. Who knew Facebook was going to become a nexus for misinformation, right? And basically, the algorithms they use to connect people were the same algorithms that basically let you disseminate some of the worst kind of lies and fake stuff in history, and do it
They
faster
turned
and better
they
than
turned a
anyone ever
switch.
knew.
They turned an absolute switch. It was a protected space until the election. And it felt like the next day I'm starting to get stuff that is shocking.
For me, I saw it coming up to the election, and then after it got worse. But like I said, if you look really, I don't necessarily blame Facebook in a sense because they didn't realize the algorithms were driving. They were like, oh, we're connecting people, and it was like, yeah, you're connecting people who want to share crazy stuff.
I'll give you an example. Before this wouldn't have happened, but after this is what happens. I like Tyler. I'll click on anything related to Tyler. She's a South African amapiano singer. She's really pretty. She's about 22 years old. Um, she's really spicy and fun. And I'm watching her career. I saw her on TikTok before anybody knew she was going to be famous. And I remarked, "You really are about to take over" on one of her posts. And I was right. She just won um, a Grammy for a song of hers, and she's really huge.
What's her name again?
Tyla, Tyla. So anything that comes through my Facebook feed featuring Tyla, I click on. So now Facebook thinks I'm a pedophile. And so they show me because Tyler dresses really sexy. She wears a really short skirt. She takes things and tears them up and covers up her, you know. So she's really, really a pop star, right? In the former Disney sense. You know what happens to former Disney young ladies that decide that they're grown now. Um,
Oh, I see what you're saying. Right. Okay.
so because I'm looking at those images, Facebook thinks I want to see prepubescent girls. And so it shows me prepubescent girls with their side boobs exposed and they're turning around and wiggling it. And I'm like, no, I don't want to see this. I gotta, no, she's a pop star. I like the music, but the point is the algorithm is not worried about anybody but itself at this point.
Yeah. Actually, I remember back in the early days of I was looking for a leather watch strap for my watch, and I typed in leather strap. I was like, oh,
Oh yeah, we got one for you.
no, no.
And here's a list of people that can administer that for
Right,
you
yeah. I was like, oh my.
within 7 miles of your home.
Uh, so yes, technology, it's a scary thing.
Yeah, but we live in a society that wants that strap to be listed.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree. I mean, I think
That's
about
what
it.
freedom means to us.
Yeah, well, when I like you said, I was over in Europe when we were doing when all that stuff came up about data privacy and stuff, and the Europeans were outraged. The Americans like we gave that up a long time ago. We just did a shrug. We're like, wait, you mean you guys want to think about whether or not you want to give your personal data up, right? I mean, to your point, Greg, right there at that point, we're all saying was like, do you want this free app or not, right? Put in your name and your address and your phone number, or don't take the app. And we're like, fine, type, right? The Europeans were like, hold up. And actually, they did something we're too dumb to do. They said, wait a minute, you're going to give me that free app, but you're going to do it on my terms, not yours. And
Right.
the EU said, you're damn straight. That's
And
what
the American companies acquiesced.
right. And the American
Prove that they
company,
can still survive with that
right,
model.
exactly. They said, do you want to come over here or not? And the American company said, well, yeah, we got to come over, right? So it's okay,
Yep.
fine. GDPR it is, sure.
They're steady, sliding under the rules, being Americans after all. And they get caught and they get sued and they write a check for 400,000 or 400 million, excuse me, 400 billion million.